Well, it was our last full day in the territory, and what a sunrise to wake up to. We decided that the best thing for today, since we'd already seen so many reptiles, was go and look for some Mertens water monitors at a watering hole that wasn't too far from here, and see if we could chance our luck on some Gleba palmer. I'll tell you what, waking up to all this sort of bush around me is something I could definitely get used to. All these rock escarpments are just so beautiful and so serene.
Look out, here she comes, the woman that I love. It's too bad she'll never know. Yeah, I can't tell her how I feel, because she has someone who makes her happy. I'm a ghost in these walls, or at least I try to be. 'Cause I hope that I'm not showing how I feel for her, but she won't feel the same for me. I've got this picture in my mind. It's just the two of us, just the two of us. But I know I have to try to let her go, because she won't be mine. I listen when she talks, I watch her.
I can't speak for the other guys personally, but I'm sure that they get this sort of feeling from time to time when they're in this sort of environment, where you just feel connected, you just feel grounded, you feel like this is home and where you're supposed to be. And that's something that I felt over this trip. There was something that just sings to me. There's something about the territory and this sort of environment and this sort of, back to nature style trip that just makes you feel so grounded. And it makes you feel so small on this planet. There's so many nooks and crannies around the planet where you can actually go and explore things similar to this. But I don't know what it is. There's something about the Northern Territory that just sings to me, and it just feels like home. This trip was a once of a lifetime trip, but it's definitely not going to be the last time that I go back to the Northern Territory. It's one of those places that it just keeps magnetising me to it. It just feels like a draw that I just need to go back. It's almost like a drug. There's just something about this environment that, I don't know, every little part of it makes it feel magic. It feels like a very spiritual place, a place where I can go to escape all my worldly problems and just feel like I'm connected back to nature.
I listen when she talks, I watch her when she walks. She's giving me these feelings that I've never felt before. She will never know that I love her so well. She's with somebody else and I will have to let her go. She will never know, never know, she will never know, never know, she will never know,
Down in this monsoon rainforest, and you guys spotted the mountains. And Tyson decided to get in the water and risk it for the biscuit and see if we can get some close-up footage of it. I dare say it's probably going to dash away about now. We'll see.
When we got to this particular spot, we came across two Mertens water monitors. One was roughly about 4 foot, I'm going to say, and the other one was about 3 foot. It was really cool to watch these monitors darting around in between these rocks, evading us and getting out of our way. They are such amazing looking animals, and seeing them in their natural environment, being so quick as they are in the water, it just gives you a super appreciation for these animals and how good they are at what they do. You can see how agile these guys are and how at home they are in this water. And after a while, these monitors actually gave us the benefit of the doubt and kind of hung around with us a little bit too. Tyson's been so gracious to give us this awesome underwater footage of these mertens swimming, and you can just see how rocket quick these things are under here. They're just absolutely made for this environment. You got pretty close to these guys, even when they were jumping off rocks and trying to evade him. It was an incredible day to be hanging out in these sort of waterways, cruising about with some mates, just enjoying the water as it is. And we had it all to ourselves for hours upon hours upon hours. Well, that's what it felt like, at least. Swimming with these monitor lizards, the rainbow fish, and the little grunters and things that were around was an unreal experience. Albeit a little bit sketchy at times because you think about crocodiles quite a bit when you're up here. It was an amazing experience to be able to do it. Luke managed to take some awesome footage of these little monitors as well using his telephoto lens on his DSLR. I was really grateful for him to sharing this because it was a view of them that I didn't get to see so close, albeit a little bit shaky. For what he had, he did a bloody good job of filming these things. I'm sure if we had a tripod it would have been even better. But watch as this monitor gets into the water and just swims with such ease. They're so graceful in the water and they're so damn quick. I can't get over how speedy these things can actually be. It's crazy how much all the evolution and all the millions of years makes for these animals to actually do what they need to do. So Tyson's just got another massive tick. He's seen some large Mertens water monitors cruising in a really natural environment too, which is freaking fantastic. But I want to see a Gluber Palmer, and I have a feeling that up here, big spider web, I have a feeling that up here might be pretty good for them. I could be wrong. There's so much hillside here, it'd be nearly impossible to find them. You just got to get lucky, I suppose. Have a bit of a poke around. It was awesome to swim around with all these little inquisitive grunters and rainbow fish. It was unreal being able to spend all this time exploring these waterfalls, climbing the rockwork, and really just feeling the earth underneath your feet. It kind of made me feel like a kid again, when I used to go bushwalking and stuff, and get into all sorts of mischief. I don't know, there's something rejuvenating about it all. I could have spent a lifetime here. It just felt like heaven on earth.
Need my light on that, eh? Like the light would be cut. You can see the mertens under the rock.
Ricky was only a few inches away from a mertens that had wedged himself right underneath these rocks. This was the mertens that Tyson was later to catch. Tyson was determined to catch a mertens for himself, and actually managed to just get in the right spot at the right time to be able to get this little girl up. I'm assuming it's a girl. I don't actually know. I didn't ask her. What a beautiful little monitor that she was. I got to sneak up a little closer to one of the Merten's water monitors and get a little bit of a closer glimpse at them. Beautiful animal to see cruising around under the water, and it's awesome just seeing their little heads just pop up, catch a bit of breath, and then duck away again. After a good solid swim, it was time to go back towards the cars and see if we could go and drive a little while to go and find the golf course and hopefully get ourselves a couple of cold beers. On the way back, I wanted to take myself out of my comfort zone a little bit further and walk barefoot. And what an experience it was. But it's not uncommon that I do walk barefoot around the bush in Sydney, but at the same time, to do it up here, where this place does feel so spiritual and so big and so vast, that was a different feeling. Once we did head back to the cars, we could almost feel a bit of a wave of quiet come over everybody involved in this trip. Like we'd seen so much, and we were so exhausted, but at the same time, we were almost sad just to be leaving this area. It was a hell of a trip, and it felt like it had come and gone so quickly. But hopefully the memories will last forever. And by making these videos, I hope that I've been able to bring some people along for it as well. These videos were made so I could remember this trip, because I've got a memory like a sieve. And for me to be able to watch these back as adventures that I've had, this is something that's going to be memorable for a very long time. Hopefully this isn't my last trip to the Territory. I want plenty more to come. And as some of you may know, I've been bugging my wife to move here as well. It's such an area that just commands such grace and such power and such vigour. It's an area where I can see myself living out my days and just feeling one with nature. We crammed so much into 6 short days, and we managed to see some of Australia's best wildlife. Everything from crocodiles, colubrids, venomous snakes, monitors, geckos, all sorts. It was a fun trip to be on as well, just bouncing ideas off each other as to how to keep these guys in captivity or how they belong in the wild and what they get up to. You know, guys like Luke and Ricky that are in the field all the time looking at these guys doing what they do best, that's one perspective. We get a perspective of them in a box, but at the same time we're trying to make their lives better in captivity. We can only really learn this by actually going to these places and seeing these animals in their natural habitat and actually getting an idea of what they're all about. It's one thing to have an animal in a box, but it's another thing to improve its life. And that's something I'm going to strive to do, and that's thanks to guys like Luke and Ricky and Tyson to kind of push me in a direction like that. And a trip like this was just enough to kind of be a real catalyst, and I really urge anybody that keeps animals to go and try to see them, or at least try to get an idea of what the habitat's like. See them in the flesh, get to have a look at them, get to have a look at the habitat, and really try to push your boundaries. The whole idea of this trip only came around after talking to Luke on the podcast, and after doing so I really felt like I needed to get out again and actually see these guys in the flesh. I really have to thank Luke because he really went out of his way to be able to make a trip for Tyson and I really enjoyable. You know, taking us to all these places, putting all these Ks in his car, and doing it for the love of the reptiles himself. He's such a great guy, and he put so much work into this trip and put so much pressure onto himself. Not that he needed to, because he always came through with the goods. But in saying that, he was a hell of a guy to be on the trip with. I really respect this guy. I have all the time in the world for Luke. And even still, we're still bouncing ideas off each other now over little voice messages off Facebook or off Instagram. Tyson was awesome to be on this trip with as well. He really kind of made me open my eyes and think about certain things. He's definitely a thinker. He's got lots of ideas in his head, and I know that he's going to go really far in this hobby and be able to push captive keeping for a very long time to come. Whilst being on this holiday with these guys is one thing, bringing back all the information and all the ideas that they put forward to me, that's a new level. That's where I kind of really found it all coming in together. That's what made this trip. You know, it was awesome being in these places and seeing these critters and having the adventure, but it's being able to have that camaraderie whilst on this trip and the common interest of love of reptiles. I have to give a special mention about Ricky as well. The guy's an absolute weapon. I've never seen anybody be able to see reptiles the way that he does. He seems to see them on a different level to most of us. He seems so in tune with the environment, so in tune with every little thing. And the kid's just absolutely wild. Like, it's just crazy to be able to see how good his eyes are at spotting little things, little differences in the world that he can kind of indicate where reptiles may or may not be. Being able to spend some time with the guy was absolutely awesome. To get to know him a little bit better, to get to know his stories, to get to know everything that he's been up to in his life. The old saying of don't always judge a book by its cover comes to mind. He's an absolute awesome guy, and I know that I'll be contacting him for years to come. He's a big softy at heart, and he cares so much for our native wildlife. These three fellas definitely made this trip for me. All the sweat, all the blood, all the tears, everything. Even all the sunflower seeds that we ate while trying to drive in a straight line at 3 a.m. in the morning while still finding mulga snakes. This was just awesome being with these guys, getting to know them, getting to know their ideas, getting to know what they know about reptiles. You know, if we're not learning, then we're not learning. And that's a big problem, because learning makes the world go forward. And that's what we need to be able to do in this hobby, is progress as a whole. Now, whether that's coming from more information in the field from individuals that are getting an idea about species that they like to keep, or whether that is somebody doing research from their home and being able to see what they can see and see where they can push their captive keeping. It's all about trying to progress. That's the major point here. Just keep thinking, keep trying, and keep doing. But I'll never forget this trip, and I really hope to be able to go out on a trip with these guys again, because it was just something that I'm just never going to forget. I already miss it so much. It's actually kind of painful being able to make these videos and things. Whilst I want to do it, it's also a bad thing because I miss the territory so much already. I am glad that I've got the images and the memories. But one day soon, I'll be going back. And hopefully, I'll get to see some of these guys along the way. Because those are good memories and good places that we went. And I'll never forget it.